Welcome, sister. You found your way to Around the Kitchen Table, the podcast where we gather heart to speak the truths we often keep tucked away. I'm Laura, and today I want to talk about something that's been really alive in my world this week. You'll begin to recognize that these podcasts really arrive with what's real and what's moving in me in this very moment. So this week, I'm going to talk to you about something that stung a little at first and then turned into utter gold when I sat with it long enough. So grab a cuppa, wrap a blanket around your shoulders, and let's go there together. So, welcome. You know when someone says something and it hits a nerve? Well, that happened to me this week. In fact, it happened a couple of times. The words that came were, "It's too expensive." And they were talking about Sacred Sister and our membership and about the work that we do and the spaces that we hold, about the kind of journal, the membership, the retreats, the circles. And it stirred something in me, which it always does. This is not a new trigger. It's not something that I haven't experienced before. It's not something that doesn't really push many of my buttons. And it's something that I've worked really hard to heal, because for a really long time, I made myself so much smaller to be more palatable. I undercharged, I overgave, and I apologized for taking up space. And I still do sometimes. This is a big journey that I've been on and that I'm taking. And I know that many of you listening will have done the same. But here's what I've learned and what I want to share today. Too expensive is rarely about the actual cost. It's about perception. It's about what we believe we're worthy of. And it's about our relationship to abundance and to ourselves. So when I hear those words, "it's too expensive," the thing it triggers in me were all those times as a little one where I was told, you can't have, you don't deserve, money doesn't grow on trees, we're not made of money. And this reality that my dad worked, like every hour God sends, my dad was out of the house. And that led to many other kind of triggers for me, abandonment, times when actually money was more important than love, where actually he wasn't available to be there. Now, my mum and dad are still together now, 50 years later, but my dad's a truck driver. So he was away. He wasn't there. He wasn't available. He wasn't free to just be there. And he wasn't a huggy kind of be there dad, He's always there when the pooper hits the fan, as he would say. He's always at the end of the phone. The joy of my dad working all the hours God sends is 9 times out of 10 he was awake even at 2 a.m. when I needed a call. So that for me is kind of where the trigger kind of comes from. So let's just take a breath here a moment, because I really want you to understand this isn't about shame. I'm not here to shame anybody into this reality of like when they term something too expensive, or when they're not able to pay for it, or when they ask for something for free. And I'll explain more about that in a little while. It's not about shame. It's actually about clarity, because there's a huge difference, right? Huge, between saying that's too expensive and saying that's not possible for me right now. That's too expensive and that's not possible for me right now. One is projection and the other is sacred responsibility. And what I've noticed is that when people say too expensive, it's often not just about money, it's about value. And underneath that is self-worth. So what if we flipped it? What if instead of saying, "I can't afford that," we asked, "How can I make space for this in my life if I really believed I was worth it?" What would change if I stopped defaulting to lack and started choosing trust? What might be possible if I no longer told myself I couldn't? Because I want to say this with love. We are not too expensive. We're really, truly not. And I don't need to justify that. We're not. And we are deeply sacred in what we do. And what we offer is deep, nourishing, layered work that changes lives. And that deserves to be valued. It also has a cost. I have to pay for this platform that I'm on right now. I have to pay for, the website. I don't pay anyone to do anything right now. Everything you see is me. I don't even pay myself. And I haven't done for the last 5 years. There's only so much of that I can do before my husband basically divorces me and tells me to go out and get a job, which I've considered many times. But this is my job. And if I chose to just stay in the lane of therapy work that I was doing for many years, 30 years as a therapist, I was earning a vast wage. I managed spas all over the world. I showed up. I did what I do. I, changed lives in many, many ways. I've listened to over 40,000 women's stories in my lifetime as a therapist. If I was to still do that, I would still have an income, it would come in, but lockdown happened. And that's when I made the decision to change things up for myself. And I've had to learn so much along the way. I didn't just step in. There is no role to step into as the founder of Sacred Sister. Like, I've had to create everything that I've done. And that doesn't make me special. In fact, my husband said the other day, you know what, Laura, actually, if you wanted to give it all up, you could probably go and start a business creating websites for people and, creating communities and creating social networks, because that's what we've done. I haven't been so good at monetizing it. And the reason that I haven't been so good at monetizing it is partly because for 9 years, I was a single mum on my own with no money coming in other than what I had to earn. And I worked tirelessly. I'd drop my child off at nursery, I'd drop the other one off at school, I'd go to the salon, I'd be in the salon all day, I'd finish at 4 o'clock to go and get the other one from after school club, the other one from nursery, I'd leave them with a childminder for the evening, and I'd go back to work. That was my life. Wow, that brings up quite a lot of emotion for me, because I never had kids to not be there for them. I never had kids to not be that kind of earth mother that I am. But it wasn't possible. I had to keep working. I had to keep doing what I do to make it work for them. And I know that many of you hearing this will be trapped in that same place, trapped in that place where, you have to go to work to earn the money to keep everything kind of going and to keep all the balls juggling, but you're still also doing all of the other stuff as well. So where do you value yourself? That's the question. This work, what we do, deserves to be valued. What you do deserves to be valued. So now let's bring in like the sacred code for a moment. We have a code that was created as part of kind of Sacred Sister, and it really supports us when we're not able to find the words, we're not able to really lean in, or something is just not gelling for us. So in the code, we talk about ownership. So we honor our triggers as teachers, not as weapons. And we notice what gets stirred in us. And instead of lashing out or blaming, we ask, why is this here? So when something feels too much, too expensive, out of reach, maybe the deeper question is, where am I afraid to give this to myself? Where do I still feel unworthy of this depth, this healing, this joy? Am I open and ready to fully receive all that is there for me? What is stopping me? Because realistically, when you break down nearly everything that we do, and this is how I work out the cost of things that I always feel like, what, I'll lower the cost and we'll get loads more people and it'll be amazing because, we'll impact so many more lives. And that's just not the case. Because if you have a mindset that says, I'm not going to give this to myself, it wouldn't matter whether it was £1.99 or 1,999. If your mindset says, I'm not worthy of this depth, this healing, this joy, then you're not going to go there. Realistically, most of what we do, you can actually find and break the payments down to less than a cup of coffee a week. if you go out and you do that, and maybe you don't treat yourself, maybe you buy chocolate, maybe you read a paper, maybe you have various different kind of, maybe you pay for your Sky TV, maybe you know, whatever it is, or other TVs, not just Sky. You know what I mean? Like, where are you choosing to put your energy? Maybe you smoke, maybe you drink alcohol, maybe you do other things. Maybe you take loads of vitamins in your life. Like, all of those things are great. And again, no judgment, no shame here. But where are you choosing everything else over what really is going to nurture and nourish and push you through? Most people say doing any work with us with Sacred Sister is like the equivalent of years of therapy, because actually, in reality, we get so much more when we come to a place where we can really dive in to the support of a sisterhood, not just working by ourselves. So when you look at those questions, when you work out what's underneath, when you look at why you're triggered, that's where the gold is. That's where the transformation really lives. So if you're listening today and you've ever said, I can't afford that, or that's too expensive, I invite you to sit gently with what you really mean. Maybe the truth is you're scared, you're unsure. You've never been taught that it's okay to invest in your healing. You've been told to shrink, to wait, to survive, not thrive. But sister, let me tell you, you are so worthy. Not someday, not when it's convenient. Now, right now, because something will always call for your money. Something will always call for the provisions that you have. There will always be something else. Something will break. Something will need replacing. Something will need, you know, or you'll feel fed up and you'll want that bottle of wine. Something will always call you forward. It's about choice. Where do you choose to really look after yourself? And whilst I'm here, let me just share with you quickly that, you know, our founding membership, right? Just because I want to clear this up, I know it's been a bit confusing for people. Our founding membership is open now until we open the doors on the 1st of May. Once we open the doors on the 1st of May, you will have two options for getting involved in our membership. Right now, the membership is £333, and that gives you absolute lifetime access to everything we do online, to our circles, to our retreat days online, to our courses, other than the training. So our circle training is slightly separate from that because it's a big training in and of itself. But everything else that we do, the sister wound, the mother wound, the kind of, you know, learning to meditate, learning to breathe properly, you know, how to be your own inner queen. Like, there is so much content already raring to go. So all of those things will be in there. You'll have access to communities and community groups where actually you may say to fellow sisters, hey, I'm gonna dive into the sister wounds. Does anyone want to come and kind of do this journey with me? And you can create your own little bubbles within inside this community and this hub of women that want to support each other to go on this journey at the same time. There, you might want to decide to set up a book club or a, you know, playlist kind of, like, there'll be all sorts of things within this community where you can get to really deeply connect. There'll be regular circles. You'll also get discounts on anything else that we do. So our retreats, our gatherings, you know, we'll have a founding members gathering potentially every year. We'll just see how it goes. I don't know yet. This is new to me too. I'm just taking everything we've ever done and putting it under one umbrella because it just makes life so much simpler. And if you're paying for it, even if it's just a little bit, I know that the value you place on it and on yourself will mean you're more likely to show up. It's that simple. We're wired that way. So 333 gets you lifetime access up until the 1st of May, and that's you being a founding member. When you sign up as a founding member, you will get a confirmation page that's through our website, and on there is a starting book just to kind of really help you to dive in already. So there's a workbook, a playlist, and a welcome from me that really allows you just to start to dive in now. And then be ready when the doors open on the 1st of May. You'll be invited to a beautiful celebration on the 1st of May with me online. That really helps you to harness the power of Beltane, which is that energy that we're going to be in for this moment. And that's one of the reasons why I'm launching it now, because that moment is so powerful. And after that, once the doors are open, you will have 2 ways to pay. You can pay for a lifetime membership. At that point, it will be $999, so just shy of £1,000. But again, the value for that, like even one of the courses that we do is worth that money. So I don't need to justify what I'm doing. This is what we charge now, and this is what we're doing, and I will make it as accessible to anyone. The way that it's become more accessible is that you sign up with a subscription, and the subscription is a monthly payment that you pay for as long as you want to be a part of the membership. And the recommended price for that is £33 a month. For that, again, like if you were going to a yoga class every week, or you were going to, you'd be paying £8 to £10 probably for that regularly. You would do that for going to a circle. You get access to a circle once a week, in fact, probably 2 a week, one in the daytime and one in the evening, your choice of which one you come to, or come to both if that's what you need. There will be so many things available to you. There'll be loads of guests, podcasts. There'll be guest podcasts as well as the podcast I do here. That's where it will all be housed in the community. So that's recommended at £33 a month. But you have the ability, because this is who I am, that if you say, actually, I can only afford £11 a month, that's the lowest we can go, because we have to pay for everything that's here. It just actually pays for your place on the platform. So, you know, £11 a month, that's less than a cup of coffee a week, well less than. And £11 a month is the minimum you should be valuing yourself and your healing at. So you can choose to pay any denomination from £11 up. If you think, actually, do you know what, I value you and I want to give you £66 a month, because you'll get, I like my magic numbers, £66 a month, because actually that extra money goes into the profit into the profit pot of our community interest company. So it basically begins to build the pot that helps to fund the people who can't come to our events because of money. Like, money should never be an object for us working together, ever. So here's your invitation this week. I really, really want to encourage you to look at the places where you've said no to yourself, and ask if that no is still serving you, or if it's time to choose a different story. You deserve sacred spaces in your life. You deserve to be supported, and you deserve to be and feel seen, safer, and held. We're here when you're ready, always. With love from my heart to yours. I'll see you next time around the kitchen table. Much love.